Hi everyone, my name is Miss Kavita and I'm from the Lilburn branch of the Gwinnett County Public Library. Welcome to the 6th episode of our Culture Craft series. Today we're celebrating Juneteenth. What is Juneteenth? The word Juneteenth is a combination of June and 19th, marking the annual celebration of abolishment of slavery in the United States. Also known as Freedom Day, Juneteenth takes place on June 19th every year to commemorate June 19th, 1865, when federal orders read in Galveston, Texas, stated that all previously enslaved people in Texas were free. This was an important day in history and the fight to end American slavery. It is honored across the country with cookouts, parades, heartfelt reunions, and so much more. We will learn more about Juneteenth later in this program, but here are a few ways you can celebrate Juneteenth with your family. Look for local celebrations in your community and try and attend those. Make Juneteenth decorations. You can honor and learn more about this holiday through decor. Create a Juneteenth feast. As a family, decide on a traditional menu, decorate the table, and discuss the significance and history behind the meal that you are sharing. Read and learn about Juneteenth as a family. Celebrating this holiday is only meaningful if you understand what's being celebrated. Start off by checking out some of the many books we have at the Gwinnett County Public Library that have been written about this holiday and discuss them as a family. So let's start with a story, followed by a presentation and a craft. The story we're going to read today is called All Different Now, Juneteenth, the First Day of Freedom. It's written by Angela Johnson and illustrated by E.B. Lewis. A June morning breeze off the port blew the smell of honeysuckle past the fields across the yard and into our room to wake us. And nobody knew as we ate a little, talked a little, and headed to the fields as the sun was rising that soon it would all be different. Then we worked and worked and worked some more under the hot Texas sun until word spread from the port to town, through the countryside, and into the field that a Union general had read from a balcony that we were all now and forever free, and things would be all different now. I watched as my Aunt Laura sang as she held her baby. Mr. Jake, who some say was 100, cried quietly, and a group of people bowed their heads and whispered things to each other I could not hear. My mamma held my hand softly and looked beyond as another breeze blew over and everything fell to a hush. But later, Papa, Mama, the aunts and uncles, and all of my cousins had an afternoon picnic by the water. My baby brother crawled around our blanket as we listened to the sounds of the waves. And as more people joined us, we ate as a free people, laughed as free people, and told stories as free people on into the night. What was before would be no more. As we walked back to our home, the cool of the night soothed our tired feet that padded quietly past the shadowy fields of cotton. And in the morning, the smell of honeysuckle will wake me again beside my sisters and brother to a time that will be for all of us. All different now. Wasn't that a wonderful story? Let's take a look at a short presentation now and learn more about Juneteenth. Are you ready? Freedom Day, June 19th. What is Juneteenth? Juneteenth is an American holiday that celebrates people's freedom from slavery in the United States. Slaves were people who had no freedom. They were made to work hard without getting paid and often with few breaks. It is celebrated on June 19th, though some states celebrate it on the third Saturday in June. Americans from all backgrounds remember the African Americans' struggle for freedom. Did you know Juneteenth is a word that is made up of two words, June and 19th? Put them together and you get Juneteenth. Atlantic slave trade. For many years, people have forced other people to do their work for them as slaves. This happened in the United States when people settled here more than 500 years ago. Ship owners from Europe sailed to Africa and bought people from African traders. Men, women, and children were taken as slaves. The slaves crossed the Atlantic Ocean from Africa to America on large ships, which took many weeks. Did you know ships sailing to America were overcrowded and some African people did not survive the trip? African Americans. When the African people were taken away from their families and sold to Americans, they were made to work on farms called plantations or in their homes. They spent long hours working in the fields or cooking and cleaning their owners' homes. Slaves of all ages would work in the cotton fields. Many slaves raised families who also became slaves. Did you know children of slaves were also expected to work for their owners? American Civil War. Many Americans believed that slavery was wrong. Some states, called the free states, did not allow slavery, while others did. This split America into two groups. The group against slavery was the Union and was supported by 25 northern states. The group for slavery, that was the Confederacy, and the Confederate Army was made up of all of 11 southern states. These two groups went to war in 1861 and was called the Civil War. Did you know the Union won the American Civil War on May 26, 1865? The first Juneteenth. President Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation before the Civil War ended. This order freed the slaves living in the Confederate States. When the Union won the war, all Americans became free. When the war was over, there were no telephones or televisions to spread the news. African American slaves living in Texas were the last to find out about their freedom. Texas and Juneteenth. On June 18, 1865, Union General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas to take control of the state and enforce the emancipation of the slaves. It is said that on June 19th, he read an order that stated all slaves were free. This day, from then on, came to be known as Juneteenth. Many slaves, however, did not hear about their freedom until days later when the plantation owners read the order to them. Did you know some freed slaves left the plantations they were working on and moved to other places in North America? Others stayed and were paid for their work. Today, people of all backgrounds travel to Texas on Juneteenth to celebrate the freedom of African Americans. After the emancipation of slaves was announced, many freed slaves bought land there. In 1896, a group of freed American slaves in Tennessee bought 30 acres of land that is now called the Booker T. Washington State Park. Did you know Juneteenth is sometimes called Emancipation Day in Texas? People celebrate Juneteenth with customs that get handed down year after year. People of all backgrounds celebrate the end of slavery in the United States. One custom is to dress in fancy clothing for Juneteenth events, since before that, many states had laws about what slaves could or could not wear. Did you know pageants are popular custom for Juneteenth celebrations? Every year, a Miss Juneteenth is chosen. Some pageants also choose a younger Little Miss Juneteenth. Juneteenth music. At Juneteenth celebrations, people enjoy listening to music. Blues, gospel, and jazz music are often performed, and live bands are common here. These kinds of music are played because they honor African American musicians. Jazz music was first created over 100 years ago by African American musicians. Music festivals across the United States, such as the Jazz Festival, are held to celebrate Juneteenth. Did you know, since 1979, June is also Black Music Month in the US. Music festivals celebrate both Juneteenth and African American music at this time. Juneteenth foods. Juneteenth happens in the summer when the weather is warm, so celebrations include gathering outdoors for a picnic or barbecue cookout. Hamburgers are popular at these. Some of the first Juneteenth gatherings held almost 150 years ago were celebrated this way. Fancy dinner parties and banquets are also held with guest speakers invited to talk about African American history. Did you know strawberry soda pop is a traditional drink at Juneteenth food gatherings? Juneteenth rodeos. After Juneteenth, many freed slaves became cowboys. They were paid to work on large farms called ranches. Part of their job was to move cattle while riding on horseback. Rodeos are cowboy shows. Cowboys display their riding and roping skills. Annual Juneteenth Black Rodeo has been celebrated in a different U.S. city for over 16 years. Did you know Bill Pickett was a famous cowboy who performed at rodeos over 100 years ago? He was the first African American to be honored at the National Cowboy Hall of Fame. Juneteenth, a time to learn. On Juneteenth, people take time to learn more about African American history and culture. Special guests are invited to gatherings. People of all backgrounds come and listen and learn. Displays with posters and books about African Americans are common too. Juneteenth festivals showcase artwork, crafts, and much more by African Americans. Some celebrations also have poetry readings. Booths to learn about issues like health and wellness are also seen. Juneteenth, a public holiday. A public holiday is a special day that is celebrated by people within a state. In the United States, each state celebrates different public holidays where schools and businesses may be closed. In Texas, Juneteenth is a public holiday. California and Ohio make Juneteenth a state holiday observance. This means that it is celebrated, but people do not get time off from work or school. Did you know lawmaker Al Edwards made Juneteenth a legal holiday in Texas and was the first to celebrate it as a paid public holiday in 1980? How about a simple craft now? We will be making a simple Pan-African flag which is popular in the African community. You will need 6 popsicle or craft sticks, 1 jumbo craft stick, crayons or paint, and some glue. Well, first we're going to color 2 of the 6 sticks red, 2 black, and 2 green on both sides. Next, we're going to glue the painted craft sticks to the jumbo craft stick as seen in the picture. Make sure to start with the red craft sticks followed by black and then the green. This popsicle stick flag craft is now ready for a Juneteenth celebration at home or a local event. Pretty simple, huh? You can try making it at home. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back. Now that we know more about the why, what, when, and how of Juneteenth, let's celebrate together. This year, teach your